One day I've been down way Ghana, and the spicy Tyra upon the dam. And me ask si Tyra what she a do there. Si Tyra hides up she go and wine like a box done go down.
And they are haters. At Mark Benchcop, we could give a liver and he's not going to cheer. He's probably going to heckle. Nigel Hughes, no friend of the government. I mean, he has this deep hatred for all of us. You know, we are not apologizing. We're not sorry at all that we spoke.
On July 2, 2014, Guyana's Minister of Education, Priya Manickchand, who was executing the functions of the Foreign Affairs Minister, uttered some harsh words to and about the outgoing U.S. ambassador to Guyana, Mr. Brent Hardt, publicly reprimanding him at his residence in Georgetown, Guyana, during a celebration to mark the 238th independence anniversary of the United States of America. Manickchand called the ambassador's earlier remarks diatribe and unacceptable. Social media immediately lit up, and the local press was at odds with the tawdry behavior and gratuitous and unsavory remarks made by Minister Manickchand, calling them unprofessional, undiplomatic, and a descent into the gutter. The opposition party and the Public Service Commission both condemned Manickchand's embarrassing attack. In an effort to rationalize her behavior, Manickchand, in a later interview, further referred to the ambassador as having a history of rogue behavior, calling him a repeat offender. She accused Ambassador Hardt of hijacking the People's Forum. Ms. Manickchand and Gail Teixeira, who is the advisor to President Romatar, also referred to the ambassador as the father and supporter of the opposition.
Take away your visa. Take away your visa.
Our struggle to gain U.S. independence was a long, hard, and bloody battle. We as Americans who have had the national pride, honor, distinction, and respect of sustaining a true functional democracy for 238 years, one in which our local elections are held in keeping with our Constitution in every state, city, township, and municipality. As Americans, Independence Day is more significant and more important to us than Christmas, Thanksgiving, or any other holiday. It is observed by hundreds of millions of Americans in America and around the world. For a Guyanese official to reprimand our ambassador at a U.S. Independence Day celebration at his own residence is almost sacrilegious, uncouth, and rude. It is like you, Miss Manickchand and Miss Teixeira, walking into church in the middle of Sunday Mass in a tight bikini. What a spectacle that would be. Miss Manickchand, that you would admit that the verbal assault on U.S. Ambassador Hardt was a personal attack conjures up images of Benghazi. Hopefully our State Department will take note of this threat. Further, Ms. Manickchand, the AFC's reference to you as a satire gal is neither sexist nor racist.
One of the political parties, AFC, talked about satire gal.
Which
now,
is
if I know the,
and
if I have
racist.
In the literary context of the famous Guyanese folk song, satire gal is depicted as a lascivious and promiscuous female, not an anomaly in any society. And the Guyanese street vernacular, satira, represents a commonplace, whatless, vulgar bad woman or virago. Quite appropriate, don't you think? At the end of the one-hour interview, Ms. Manickchand, in a contemptuous display of arrogance, said that she was not sorry.
You know, we are not apologizing. We're not sorry at all.
Manickchand went on to say, "What did I say to take issue that is wrong?"
What did I say? What did the government say? What did the executive say on the night of July 2nd that you can take issue with?
Now, here is Mr. Wayne Ford to answer Ms. Manickchand's question.
Minister Priya Manickchand and Ms. Gail Teixeira, you must be commended on a valiant attempt to justify the unjustifiable, to explain away the reprehensible, and to rationalize the rational. Ms. Manickchand, it's rather disingenuous and alarming for you to ask what is at issue. Let's go to the videotape. First, both you and Ms. Teixeira have argued that Ambassador Hardt had continually committed egregious breaches over a protracted period. Why did the Guyana government not engage diplomatic channels during Ambassador Hardt's tenure to inform the U.S. State Department through the Guyana Embassy in Washington to request a recall or reprimand? Instead, you, Ms. Manickchand, attended a celebratory event at Ambassador Hardt's residence and publicly reprimanded the ambassador. until you were booed and heckled by invited guests. Wasn't that a clear indication that your message was off course, inopportune, and unacceptable at that time and place? Those harsh words, as you admitted them to be, were done during the celebration of the 238th independence anniversary of the United States of America, the most inopportune time for such misconduct. Miss Manickchand, the values of common decency, respect, diplomacy, protocol, politeness, civility, and basic etiquette as a guest of the ambassador were all ignored and horribly violated. Your rampage was a poor reflection on the government of Guyana that you purport to represent, and an embarrassment to the people of Guyana. What is also significant here is that the U.S. market is the largest destination of Guyana's exports. It represents approximately 31% of Guyana exports, some $434 million, and 25% of imports, according to OEC reports. Now, Priya, as Minister of Education, which part of this don't you understand? Oh, my kiss.
When you go out there and you attack a president, he attacked every single citizen of this country.
This goes both ways. When the government of Guyana personally attacked the U.S. ambassador, it also attacks the president, the government, and the citizens of the United States.
Because that democracy was prevented, our growth as a people, as a country, as a nation was retarded.
It's quite asinine to blame the U.S. involvement some 60 years ago as the reason for the sordid state of affairs in our nation today. So let's recap. After 22 years, the PPP government is mired in a cesspool of corruption, lawlessness, economic ineptitude, human rights violations, deterioration of the education system, narco-trafficking, and more. Guyana has the highest teen pregnancy rate in the region, the highest suicide rate per capita, the second highest incidence of HIV/AIDS, the highest consumption of alcohol in the region, the highest rate of immigration of skilled labor, the highest cost of electricity per capita, and an unsanitary capital city. It also boasts high unemployment, abject poverty, and no local elections in 20 years, along with the misappropriation of $4.5 billion and poor governance after 22 years of the PPP in government. And as it pertains to governance, Ms. Teixeira, you have long been the advisor to the presidents on governance. So here is Guyana's rating on governance by the 2013 World Bank report. Under the 6 dimensions of governance, here are Guyana's scores. 0 equal low, 1 equal high, and 2.5 is the highest. In voice and accountability, Guyana is negative 0.01. Political stability and lack of violence, it's negative. Government effectiveness, it's negative. Regulatory quality, rule of law, and corruption and the control of corruption are all negative. Ms. Teixeira, do you have an explanation for this abysmal performance? If Donald Trump were your boss, Mr. Teixeira, you would have heard 3 words. You are fired. It is a delusion to proclaim that Guyanese are proud of your misconduct when both AFC and the AP and you have condemned this assault. The Public Service Commission has expressed regret, and Guyanese around the world and across social media are embarrassed. Even members of the National Assembly heckled and booed during your last address.
And the wrath of the Guyanese people. They could show their wrath.
He practically hijacked the People's Forum. He's been a repeated offender. This rogue behavior.
The time has come for a new breed of leaders. Visionary, honest, polite, and civil. Leaders who understand social decorum and diplomatic protocol. Leaders who respect their trade partners and conduct themselves with dignity. Leaders who will restore our national image, not tarnish it any further. We look to a new wave of leaders endowed with integrity, sincerity, and true interest in the well-being and welfare of every Guyanese, upholding the pillars of democracy, accountability, transparency, responsiveness, and solidarity. for one people, one nation, and one destiny. Change we can embrace.
But I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will.